The crimson droplet hovered in midair, suspended by forces unknown to human science. Vestrel's six-fingered hand trembled as she watched it pulse with life energy that made her mouth water and her three hearts race. Earth blood. Human blood. The most potent catalyst in 17 star systems. Is this truly necessary? Captain Lysander Frost asked, wincing as the needle retracted from his forearm. His steel blue eyes narrowed with suspicion, but he made no move to flee the dimly lit chamber aboard the Terran diplomatic vessel. Vestrel's luminescent skin rippled with shades of violet and indigo as she circled the human male. Her species, the Nevari, were renowned throughout the galaxy as mystics, healers, and, to those who feared them, witches. 5 centuries old and bearing the markings of a high priestess, Vestrel had never before encountered such resistance from a blood donor. "Your cooperation ensures the treaty's success," she replied, her melodic voice betraying none of the desperate hunger that clawed at her insides. One small sacrifice to save millions. The Orinox plague had ravaged 3 planetary systems already. Only the Nevari blood-weaving could create a barrier strong enough to contain it. But their magic required a catalyst. Human blood, specifically from one with innate psionic potential, was the only substance powerful enough, and Lysander Frost's blood readings were off the charts. "Strange," she murmured, analyzing the floating droplet. "Your genetic markers are unusual." Lysander shrugged broad shoulders beneath his Alliance uniform. "So they tell me. That's why they sent me on this mission. The brass figured if anyone could survive whatever alien sorcery you had planned, it would be me." Vestrel's third eye, normally hidden beneath the silver circlet on her forehead, flickered open momentarily. "You've been lied to, Captain. The Alliance knows exactly what I require and why." The temperature in the chamber dropped several degrees as Frost's expression hardened. "Explain. The ritual requires more than a few drops," Vestrel admitted, her ceremonial robes whispering against the metal floor as she moved to her altar. "Much more. And from someone with your rare genetic makeup, it could be fatal." Lysander's hand moved to the sidearm at his hip. "So I'm a sacrifice, not a diplomat. You are the only hope for billions," Vestrel countered, raising her hand. The droplet of blood rose higher, beginning to spin and emit a faint glow. "But I cannot force you. Our magic doesn't work that way. The blood must be given willingly, or its power turns destructive." Their eyes locked across the chamber, his stormy with betrayal, hers ancient and filled with stars. For a moment, Vestrel allowed him to see past her ethereal beauty to the burden she carried. Hundreds of years watching worlds die, species vanish, civilizations crumble while her powers, vast as they were, proved insufficient. "The Alliance will condemn 3 systems to death rather than risk diplomatic incident with Earth," she said softly. "They sent you because your file indicates you might choose differently than they would." Lysander's jaw clenched. "And if I refuse? Then I return to my people empty-handed," Vestrel replied, "and we prepare for the end." Something shifted in the human's expression, a calculation, a weighing of lives against his own. Vestrel had seen it before in other species. Rarely, in humans who were notoriously self-preserving. "How much blood would you need?" he asked finally. Vestrel hesitated. "More than you can safely give at once." For the first time since entering her chamber, Lysander's lips curved into a grim smile. "Then I guess we're about to get to know each other very well, Sorceress." She couldn't help but notice how beautiful his smile was, even as she wondered if his unusual blood would reveal even more unusual properties once she began her work. "You're healing too quickly," Vestrel observed 3 days later, scanning Lysander's arm with a crystalline device. "This defies all my knowledge of human physiology." The captain sat shirtless on the examination table, the intricate tattoos covering his torso shifting slightly with each breath. They weren't decorative, Vestrel had learned, but military neuromods, bioelectric enhancements embedded in his skin. "The Alliance didn't send me because I'm a normal human," he replied, flexing his fingers. "Genetically modified. Project Prometheus. You're enhanced." Vestrel's primary heart skipped a beat. This complicated matters significantly. Not supposed to mention it, Lysander added, reaching for his uniform shirt. But since I'm apparently a walking blood bank now, seems irrelevant. The ritual chamber had become their daily meeting place. Vestrel would extract exactly 470 milliliters of blood, the maximum safe amount, before performing the complex incantations needed to preserve its potency. Already 5 crystal vials glowed with the processed essence. She needed 20. Your enhancements explain why the Orinox can't penetrate Earth systems, she mused. Your species is developing natural defenses, Lysander shrugged. Nothing natural about what they did to me. Vestrel hesitated, then asked, was it painful? The modifications? Like having your skeleton replaced with molten metal, one bone at a time. His voice remained casual, but his eyes darkened with memory. Worth it, though. I've survived things that would kill a dozen normal men. Including blood loss, Vestrel noted, watching his wound seal itself. Convenient, isn't it? For the first time in centuries, Vestrel felt something like hope. If his recovery continued at this rate, they might not need weeks to complete the ritual, perhaps only days. She could save the Proxima colonies before the plague reached the populated centers. Why did you agree? She asked suddenly. You had every reason to refuse. Lysander's expression grew distant. My modifications came at a price. The rest of my squad didn't survive the procedures. 27 good soldiers died so I could become this. He gestured to his altered body. If my survival means something, if it can save others, then maybe their deaths weren't meaningless. Vestrel moved closer, impulsively laying a 6-fingered hand on his forearm. The contact sent a shock through her system. His life force was unlike anything she'd encountered, vibrant and robust, pulsing with untapped potential. Your enhancements, she whispered. They're not just physical, are they? Lysander tensed beneath her touch. What do you mean? There's something else in your blood, something the Alliance may not even know about. Her third eye opened fully, its silver iris examining him on spectral wavelengths invisible to humans. Latent psionic energy, but different from any I've encountered. He pulled away, suddenly guarded. The Alliance scientists mentioned anomalies they couldn't explain, said they might develop later. Vestrel felt a flutter of excitement and fear. If she was right, Lysander's blood might be powerful enough not just to contain the plague, but to eliminate it entirely. But extracting that kind of power, tomorrow's ritual will be different, she decided. I need to test a theory. Will it hurt? Vestrel looked away. Yes. To her surprise, Lysander laughed, a genuine sound that made her hearts beat faster. Sorceress, Pain and I are old friends, he said. Do what you must. As he departed, Vestrel wondered if the strange warmth she felt watching him leave was mere scientific curiosity or something more dangerous. The chamber pulsed with ethereal light as Vestrel arranged 7 crystal vessels in a perfect heptagram around Lysander's prone form. The captain lay shirtless on the ritual platform, breathing steadily despite the glowing sigils painted across his chest and arms. The sedative should prevent you from feeling most of it, she explained, adjusting the final crystal. But your consciousness must remain active for the energies to flow correctly. Lysander's eyes followed her movements with calm intensity. Over the past week, his initial suspicion had gradually transformed into something more complex. Respect, perhaps, or even trust. Dangerous emotions in their situation. I've survived Alliance interrogation protocols, he remarked. This can't be worse. Vestrel paused in her preparations. It will be different. I'm not targeting your body, but something deeper. My soul? His mouth quirked in a half-smile. Essentially, yes. She placed her hands on either side of his head, her 6 fingers splaying to touch specific neural points. Humans lack the proper terminology for it. The essence that makes you uniquely you. Beyond flesh. Beyond thought. Lysander's pulse quickened beneath her touch. And you need this essence? I believe your modifications have created a unique spiritual resonance, she explained. If I can isolate it, amplify it, the resulting catalyst would be exponentially more powerful than ordinary blood. His eyes held hers steadily. Enough to stop the plague completely? Potentially. Vestrel hesitated, struggling with her conscience. But the extraction carries risks I haven't mentioned. Of course it does, Lysander sighed. Let me guess, brain damage? Death? Fate worse than death? Connection, she whispered. To perform this ritual, our consciousnesses will temporarily merge. You will see into me, as I see into you. There will be no secrets between us. Lysander grew very still. And that's bad because I am Navaria. My mind spans 5 centuries of memories across dozens of worlds. The human consciousness isn't structured to accommodate such expansion. She withdrew her hands reluctantly. The shock could shatter your identity permanently. To her surprise, Lysander caught one of her hands before she could fully retreat. His warm fingers intertwined, with her cooler ones in a gesture so intimate it made her third eye flutter beneath its covering. You've been inside my blood for a week, he said quietly. Might as well see the rest. Vestrel felt a strange fluttering sensation in her secondary heart, one she hadn't experienced in centuries. There's more you should understand. This connection, it can create attachments, emotional entanglements. Afraid you'll fall for me, sorceress? His tone was light, but his eyes held something serious. Afraid you won't survive it intact, she countered, withdrawing her hand and resuming her preparations more briskly than necessary. The ritual began with Vestrel's melodic incantations, ancient words in a language dead for millennia. The crystals responded, humming at frequencies that made the air itself vibrate. As planned, Lysander's consciousness remained alert, while his body paralyzed. What Vestrel hadn't prepared for was the sheer power that erupted when she opened the channel between them. Lysander's mind hit hers like a supernova, not the fragile human psyche she'd expected, but something vast and untamed. The Alliance's modifications had done more than alter his physical form. They had awakened something primordial in his genetic structure, something that resonated with her own alien nature in ways that defied explanation. Their minds crashed together, boundaries dissolving. 500 years of Vestrel's memories collided with 36 years of Lysander's, creating a psychic storm that threatened to overwhelm them both. Through the maelstrom, a single thought formed. We're compatible. Impossibly perfectly compatible. Then everything went white. Vestrel awoke to the taste of human blood in her mouth and the sensation of cool metal against her cheek. She was lying on the chamber floor, one arm draped across Lysander's chest. The captain remained unconscious, but his breathing was steady, strong. The ritual had succeeded beyond all expectation. The 7 crystals now pulsed with energy so potent it made her skin tingle from meters away. But something else had happened. Something unprecedented in all her centuries of blood weaving. She could still feel him in her mind. Lysander? She thought tentatively. His body remained still, but she felt his consciousness stir within her own. A warm presence, disoriented but intact. What happened? His thoughts carried his voice's timbre, deep and resonant even in this immaterial space. The connection didn't dissolve as intended. She replied mentally. Our consciousnesses are still partially merged. She felt his alarm spike, followed by a remarkable calm as he processed this information. Can it be reversed? I don't know. Vestrel carefully separated herself from him physically, though the mental connection remained unaffected by distance. This has never happened in any recorded ritual. Lysander's eyes finally opened, focusing immediately on her face with new awareness. I know you now, he said aloud, his voice hoarse. Really know you. Vestrel's third eye opened fully, no longer hidden behind its covering. There seemed little point in concealing it when he had seen the entirety of her being. And I know you. He sat up slowly, wincing. Your life is incredible. 5 centuries. So many worlds. And yours so brief yet so intense, she countered. Human lives burn like supernovas, short but brilliant. Lysander stood cautiously, testing his balance. The ritual, did it work? Vestrel gestured to the crystals, which now pulsed with blinding luminosity. Beyond expectation. The essence we extracted contains enough power to create a barrier that will not merely contain the plague but destroy it completely. Relief washed through him, echoing across their shared mental space. Then it was worth it. Indeed, Vestrel hesitated, then added, but we must discuss our current condition. The mind meld? Lysander tapped his temple. Having you in here is strange, but not unpleasant. Vestrel felt his sincerity. The connection made deception impossible between them. More concerning was the undercurrent of emotion flowing beneath his thoughts. Fascination, admiration, and something warmer she dared not name. It cannot remain this way, she said firmly. Cross-species consciousness merging is dangerous. Over time, our identities would blur until neither of us remained truly ourselves. How long do we have? Perhaps a week before the effects become irreversible. Lysander's mind projected calm acceptance, though Vestrel detected fear beneath the surface. Not for himself, but for her. Then we'd better figure out how to separate before we deliver the cure. I must consult the ancient texts, Vestrel agreed. There may be precedent among the elder rituals. As they prepared to leave the chamber, Lysander paused suddenly, a realization dawning across their connection. You know, he said slowly, for all that's in your head, you're quite lonely, aren't you? The observation pierced Vestrel's carefully maintained composure. Among her own kind, mental barriers prevented such intimate knowledge. No one had seen her so completely in centuries. 500 years, she acknowledged softly. One outlives many connections. Lysander's mind reached for hers, not invasively, but with gentle understanding. For what it's worth, I'm honored to know you, Vestrel. The sound of her name on his lips sent a shiver through her physical form. In their shared mental space, something shifted, a bridge forming between alien and human consciousness, spanning differences that should have been insurmountable. We should focus on breaking this connection, she reminded him, even as part of her rebelled against the idea. Of course, Lysander agreed, though his thoughts betrayed similar reluctance. Priorities. Neither mentioned how their minds had begun to synchronize, thoughts flowing between them with increasing harmony. Neither acknowledged the comfort they found in the other's mental presence. Some truths were dangerous, even when shared between two minds that could no longer hide from each other. 3 days passed without progress. Vestrel consulted every ancient text in her possession, communed with the ship's AI knowledge banks, and even attempted minor reverse engineering rituals, all without success. Their mental connection remained, growing stronger rather than weaker with each passing hour. We need to talk about what happens if this is permanent, Lysander said one evening as they sat in the observatory deck, watching the hypnotic swirl of slip space through the reinforced viewport. Vestrel stiffened. It won't be. Your determination is admirable, he replied. But even in your 5 centuries, you haven't seen everything. She couldn't argue with that, especially when he could sense her uncertainty. Their shared consciousness had evolved beyond mere thought reading into something more profound. A harmonious duality where emotions and memories flowed freely between alien and human awareness. If it becomes permanent, she conceded reluctantly, one of us would need to leave their previous life behind. Lysander nodded, his thoughts tinged with resignation. And since my lifespan is barely a blink compared to yours, you assume too much, Vestrel interrupted. I would not ask you to abandon Earth. Surprise rippled through their connection. You would consider leaving the Nevari? Your position as High Priestess? Vestrel's 3 hearts beat in unusual syncopation. I've served for 5 centuries, Lysander. Perhaps it's time for renewal in the High Temple. The warmth that flooded their connection made her skin glow with involuntary bioluminescence, illuminating the darkened observatory. You're serious, he murmured, reaching across the space between them to touch her hand. But your people need you. And the Alliance needs you, she countered. We're at an impasse. Their fingers intertwined, 6 slender alien digits wrapped around 5 human ones, as they watched the cosmos swirl around them. Through their connection, Vestrel felt Lysander's amazement at her lifetime of voyages among the stars, his wonder at civilizations she'd witnessed rise and fall. In turn, she experienced his fierce loyalty to Earth, his grief for fallen comrades, his determination to justify his survival by serving a greater purpose. There's something I haven't told you, Lysander said finally. Something I've kept buried deep enough that you might not have seen it. Vestrel waited, allowing him to reveal this hidden truth at his own pace. Project Prometheus wasn't just about creating super soldiers, he continued. The modifications were designed with specific genetic markers that activate under certain conditions. What conditions? His eyes met hers. Extended exposure to non-terrestrial consciousnesses. Understanding dawned across their connection. The Alliance knew this might happen. They suspected something like this was possible with advanced species, Lysander confirmed. The Naivari have always been of particular interest. Your lifespans, your psychic abilities. Your enhancements were designed to facilitate mental bonding with my kind, Vestrel realized. But why? Lysander's thoughts darkened with anger. Insurance. A way to ensure humans would always know what the Naivari were planning. We've feared your abilities for generations. The revelation should have felt like betrayal, but their connection made his sincerity undeniable. He had been used as surely as she had. Then our meeting was orchestrated, she whispered. The Alliance knew the plague would force us to seek human blood. And they sent me to ensure they'd have a permanent link to Naivari leadership, Lysander finished. They sat in silence, their shared consciousness processing this revelation. Finally, Vestrel reached a decision. We must complete our mission to deliver the cure, she said firmly. But afterward, we choose our own path, not one designed by your Alliance or my council. Lysander's mind resonated with agreement. Together? The word contained a universe of implications, possibilities neither of them had considered before their minds merged. 5 centuries of Naivari wisdom intertwined with human passion and adaptability. What might such a union accomplish? Together, Vestrel confirmed, her third eye gleaming with newfound purpose. But first we have a plague to destroy. The Proxima colony hung in space before them, its once vibrant habitation rings now dark and lifeless. Beyond it, the swirling, purple mass of the Oronox plague consumed everything in its path, an interstellar cancer devouring worlds. Containment protocols failed 12 hours ago, announced the ship's AI as Vestrel and Lysander entered the bridge. Estimated time until total planetary contamination, 43 minutes. The bridge crew, a mixture of Alliance personnel and Naivari mystics, turned to them expectantly. For 3 weeks, the United Species Coalition had watched their unprecedented collaboration with mixture of hope and suspicion. Are the amplifiers in position? Vestrel asked, her ceremonial robes replaced by practical intervention gear. All 7 points are secured, High Priestess, confirmed Orathilla, her Naivari apprentice. But the plague's advancement exceeds our models, even with the enhanced catalyst. She hesitated, doubt clear in her expression. Lysander stepped forward. The catalyst will work. Has the evacuation been completed? All surviving colonists are aboard rescue vessels at the minimum safe distance, reported Commander Vega, the Alliance liaison. Her eyes narrowed as she observed how close Vestrel and Lysander stood to each other. Captain Frost, may I speak with you privately before deployment? Through their connection, Vestrel felt Lysander's wariness. She suspects something has changed between us. Let her suspect, Vestrel replied silently. We have more important concerns. No time, Commander, Lysander said aloud. The containment window is closing. He and Vestrel moved to the ritual platform that had been installed on the bridge, a compromise between Alliance technology and Naivari mysticism. The 7 crystal vessels containing the processed catalyst were arranged in the now familiar heptagram pattern. "This will be different from our practice runs," Vestrel warned the assembled crew. "The energy requirements exceed standard protocols." What she didn't say, what only Lysander knew through their shared consciousness, was that conventional methods would fail. The plague had grown too strong, too adaptive. Only direct channeling would generate sufficient power, and such channeling came at devastating physical cost. "They don't need to know," Lysander's thoughts reassured her. "This was always the plan." "Since when?" she asked silently. "Since I saw in your memories what channeling truly requires," he answered, "since I understood what you were hiding from me." As the ritual began, Vestrel's hands moved in complex patterns above the crystals, activating sequences of sigils that glowed with increasing brilliance. Lysander stood opposite her, his modified physiology allowing him to withstand energies that would have instantly killed an ordinary human. Through their connection, they coordinated with perfect synchronicity, her ancient knowledge flowing through his enhanced body, creating a circuit of power unlike anything either species had witnessed. The bridge crew watched in silent awe as the ritual intensified. The 7 crystals levitated, spinning in complex orbital patterns as they absorbed energy from both participants. Vestrel's skin glowed with increasing luminosity. Lysander's eyes shone with unearthly light. Commander Vega stepped forward, in alarm. "Captain, your readings are critical." "Stay back," Lysander commanded, his voice resonating with otherworldly harmonics. "The containment field is forming." On the view screen, tendrils of golden light extended from the ship toward the purple mass of the plague. Where they touched, the infection recoiled, hissing into space like water on hot metal. "It's working," breathed Orithilla. "The plague is retreating." But Vestrel and Lysander knew the truth through their shared consciousness. The plague wasn't retreating. It was being drawn toward them, pulled by the irresistible lure of their combined power. This was always the only way. Lysander's thoughts reached her. "We don't just contain it, we absorb it. And in doing so, consume ourselves," Vestrel acknowledged, her 3 hearts beating in perfect harmony with his one. As the plague rushed toward their ship, the bridge crew's triumph turned to horror. "High Priestess, what's happening?" demanded Orithilla. "The containment field is inverting." "Captain, your biometrics are collapsing," shouted Vega. "Abort the ritual now." But Vestrel and Lysander had moved beyond the point of return. Their physical forms began to blur at the edges, molecular structures shifting as the energy coursing between them approached cosmic levels. "Evacuation protocols," ordered Commander Vega. "All personnel to escape pods immediately." As the bridge emptied around them, Vestrel and Lysander remained locked in their ritual positions, the plague rushing toward them like a tidal wave of destruction. "Are you afraid?" Vestrel asked across their bond. "Not anymore," came his reply, filled with a peace she had rarely encountered in her long existence. "Not with you." Their physical forms began to dissolve into pure energy as the plague engulfed the ship. But instead of destruction, something miraculous occurred. The plague's purple mass turned golden where it touched them, transformation spreading outward in concentric waves. The last thing the evacuating crews witnessed was a blinding flash that momentarily outshone Proxima's sun itself. When it faded, both the plague and the ship were gone. In their place hung a newborn nebula, pulsing with golden light. Epilogue 5 years later, the Proxima anomaly, or the Frost-Vestrel phenomenon, as the Alliance officially designated it, had become the most studied cosmological event in recent history. Scientists from 17 species maintained constant observation of the Golden Nebula, which defied conventional physics in numerous ways. "It's still expanding," noted Dr. Ilara Vega, formerly commander, now head of the Alliance Anomaly Research Division, but only into previously contaminated space. "It's as if it knows where the plague had been." Her colleague, High Observer Orithilla of the Naivari, adjusted the quantum resonance scanner. The harmonic patterns remained consistent. dual-frequency oscillation, maintaining perfect synchronicity. Neither scientist spoke the truth they both suspected, that consciousness somehow persisted within the nebula. The Alliance called it superstition, the Nevari Council deemed it classified. But occasionally, ships passing near the nebula reported unusual phenomena. Navigation systems briefly linking to unknown networks, communications picking up fragments of conversation between entities speaking in impossible harmonies, and on rare occasions when both Proxima's sun and its neighboring stars aligned in specific configurations. The nebula pulsed in patterns that Nevari mystics recognized as ancient love poetry, translated into cosmic scale. Where two beings had stood, one human, one alien, something new had emerged. Neither fully human nor Nevari, but a harmonious union of both. They had sacrificed their physical forms but preserved their essence, transforming destruction into creation. The plague never returned. In its place, a golden guardian nebula remained, expanding, protecting, remembering. On both Earth and the Nevari homeworld, new stories were told of an alien sorceress who needed human blood but found something far more precious flowing through his veins, of sacrifice that became transcendence, of two beings from worlds apart who together became something greater than either could have been alone. The universe, vast and mysterious as it was, had witnessed countless wonders throughout its existence. But even after billions of years, it could still be surprised by the power contained in a simple truth. That love, whether born in alien hearts or human ones, remained the most transformative force in existence. And somewhere within the golden light of the nebula, Vestrel and Lysander, no longer confined to separate forms or separate minds, continued their dance among the stars, their consciousness expanded beyond mortality, their bond unbroken for all eternity, together as they had promised, forever as they had become.